nonsense like that. Well, Eugene Robinson's a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist with the Washington Post, and Howard Fineman is editorial director at the Huffington Post Media Group. Both are MSNBC political analysts. Well, there are certain ways you have to speak in a tolerant society, of course. Your words do matter. And one thing the Donald Sterling incident has shown us is that there isn't much that is truly private anymore. Washington Post columnist Kathleen Parker has a great column out today on what she calls the sobering message from the recent Sterling fallout. She writes, quote, "If you don't want your words broadcast in the public square, don't say them. Such potential exposure forces us to more carefully select our words and edit our thoughts. Speaking one's mind isn't really all that it's cracked up to be." I love that line. Well, I says who I am. I am what I am.
You love that line? I don't know.
It's a great line because it's actually, I was thinking back, I'll talk about the end of the show, the 47% line.
Yeah, right.
And your paper is most famous for what? Richard Nixon's tape recordings.
Exactly.
The private cone of silence.
Yeah.
With your girlfriend are gone.
No, there ain't no cone of silence.
Okay, let's talk about what we're really focusing on, not little he said, she said. Racially antagonistic, hostile language. Is there a new zero tolerance in the way we're going to cover these stories and the way the public's going to react to them?
Well, you know, way back in the past, there was a whole lot of tolerance, right? The stuff was said in the open. For a while now, it has been socially unacceptable to say, I think black people are inferior. I don't like black people. I think they smell bad. That sort of
when was that okay?
Ugly racism. Well, you know, it wasn't. It was never okay with me.
Well, it may have been okay where you grew up in South Carolina.
Exactly,
it may have been okay in the back room somewhere.
Exactly. But now there is no back room, and so when society is confronted, when we are all confronted with, you know, irrefutable proof that, here, this is what this person thinks because this is what this person said, then it imposes a duty to react to that.
Do you realize what we've been through? We're all roughly the same age here. Do you realize we grew up, you had one of the most talented performers ever, he grew up in Washington, made his living in blackface, Al Jolson. I mean, think about it. Amos and Andy we grew up with on the radio. Everybody listened on the radio. The Mummers in Philadelphia used to be blackface, right? And now, that was yes, okay, right? It's not, you couldn't pull any of that stuff today, nor should you. Well, and now we're getting to this new level of words, and words being recorded, and words killing people's public life, really.
Well,
banishments coming with
Chris, it's paradoxical because the progress that we've made makes sensitivity that much more important. We've eliminated some of the gross things that Gene was talking about. That was simple arithmetic. This is now getting into trigonometry and higher math because we're an even more diverse society than we were. We're talking about multiple sensitivities, not only of African Americans, but Hispanics, of people from Asia, of people from all over the world. There are more languages spoken in New York now. Well, there are more languages spoken there than anywhere in the world, and more than ever before. And so I think everybody, you mentioned the social media component of it. That's important. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, plus recording devices, etc. Everybody's going to have to live in this new world, especially political people. Anybody presuming to speak in the political public square has to be sensitive. They just do. That's the new reality.
Well, if you want to have proof of how quickly words do spread, of racial hostility in all its variants, look at this on Monday. The leader of a local chapter of Republicans in Illinois sent out a newsletter. This is old print stuff. A newsletter. Oh, it was out on email, but it was a newsletter which attacked President Obama for being mixed race. Of all the weird things to go after. Media update for the week, it goes. Saw on the news this week the offspring of a donkey and a zebra, black and white legs, rest all donkey. Not sure why this is news. Now we can teach him to read a teleprompter. We could have two living creatures the media will fawn over that is part white, part black, and all ass. This is what's written in this thing. Well, you know, yesterday after the newsletter caught the attention of the press, the author quickly apologized, of course, and today his comments were denounced in the Washington Post editorial page itself.
Well, yeah, because, you know, that's what's going to happen, right?
Well, what's this weird new knock about people that are mixed background? I think a lot of people were sort of intrigued by Barack Obama's background. You know, a white mother from the Midwest and a Kenyan father, pretty unusual background. It was seen as a sort of a plus because it combined the immigrant experience, and it seemed, with the American experience and the racial experience. And everybody said, well, this is fascinating. But this guy, it's like that old thing in the cowboy movies, the half-breed. Oh, is this the new knock on Obama?
Yeah, but who thinks like that? I mean,
this guy, this Republican local figure.
Where's this? What rock has this guy been under? There was a time when we were kids, if you saw, you know, a black man and a white woman, or a white man and a black woman walking down the street together, you know, holding hands. Well, you wouldn't have seen that where I grew up, but if you saw
wouldn't have seen it where I grew up either.
Right, but if you saw it, you would turn your head. It would be something that you didn't see every day, and now you certainly wouldn't notice. You would, you know, it would never, it would not occur to you that that was what you were seeing.
Well, why the knock on Obama?
Who are these people? Where have they been?
Well, they're working in the local Republican headquarters somewhere out there in the Midwest. Wait, we got this guy in Pennsylvania was just jumping up and down about how voter suppression was keeping people from voting for Obama.
I think the point is, Chris, that these things are now stories everywhere. Because they are more unusual. I would argue it's because they're more unusual because we have such a all-seeing, all-knowing media that turns every little thing from a small newsletter in Wisconsin into a national story. We're seeing what's left of this in the country, and it gets pushed to the surface because it's less usual than it was. It's less usual than it was. And I would argue that overall, the acceptance of President Obama as the first African-American president has gone over pretty well overall in America.
That's the story.
Overall in American society. We're missing the big story.
I like that story. Yeah. Well, I like that story. The fact that Michelle Obama
for every newsletter in
largely
Wisconsin,
celebrated as a very attractive
she's the most